Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today I'm going to be tasting some treats that I found during my visit to New Orleans. It was absolutely fantastic. This is the second time I've been. I went many years ago, and so it was so great to bring my kids. My husband and I went for a little holiday, and it was fantastic. The people are so warm and welcoming and kind. The weather was warm. The food was fantastic. If you've never been, I highly recommend it. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's my husband's birthday. We went to a Pelican Celtics game, which was a ton of fun. Super exciting to be in enemy territory. But again, just really celebratory, exciting, and just beautiful. And once again, the people were so very kind and gracious. I feel like the pace is a little bit slower than up north. People have more time to extend a little greeting, to chat with you, and to welcome you. It was absolutely lovely. And did I mention the food was fantastic? I feel like it's one of those places where you could eat at a new place every day for a very long time and still not have tried everything. At any rate, I went to a dollar store in New Orleans to pick up some things just out of curiosity to see what they had, if anything was different or regional. I also went to a grocery store like I always do whenever I travel. I find it's a really great way to get a little insight on the local culture. Just go to the grocery store like everyone else does and see what you can find. So I will share those items with you as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's begin with these, and these are pork rinds, chicharrones, and I got very familiar with these in my last dollar store taste test. If you missed that, I will put a link to that down below. I tasted many flavors of Brimm's brand pork skins, but this is Golden Flake, and this is a Louisiana brand. It is made, where does it say? Actually, it says Golden Flake is based in Birmingham, Alabama. This is Louisiana Hot Sauce flavored. Also in that video, someone commented that you could find pork rinds that came with a little packet of hot sauce with them, which I thought was genius. I didn't see any at the dollar store or any convenience stores that I went to, but it looks like this is seasoned with the Louisiana hot sauce, which I also found at the dollar store. Now, almost all of the places I went to eat had either one of these or both of these sitting on the tables. This is Crystal hot sauce. This is Louisiana brand hot sauce. I'm very familiar with this one. This was my mom's favorite hot sauce growing up. And this one I am not as familiar with, but I did taste it on some food. So we'll do a little side-by-side comparison. I'll also taste it with the chicharrones as well. But Crystal and I go way back. My mom loves this Louisiana hot sauce. In my opinion, tends to be waterier. It's a little bit more vinegary and tangy and a little less spicy, but it adds a nice little complexity to whatever you're eating. So let's go ahead and taste the pork rinds. So Golden Flake brand, and these are flavored with hot sauce. I'm very curious to see how hot they are. Smell like pork rinds. Porky. Don't smell too spicy. And here they are. A little bit smaller than Brimm's in size, and dusted with a little bit of this kind of orange powder. Alrighty, let's give them a taste. Itadakimasu. Ooh. I do taste the heat right away, which is pleasant. That was a crunchier one. The first one I had was more fluffy. Oh, that was a good one. I like it when they're a little bit harder and crunchier, but not too hard. But I do like the addition of the hot sauce in there. Adds a little bit of heat, hotter than the spicy Brimm ones that I had. Although of the two, I think I like the Brimm's flavor better. There's just something infectiously good about them. These are still pretty good, but I feel like they could be a little bit fresher. Is there an expiration date on these? Oh yeah. So these were $1.25. As most of you know, everything at the dollar store is now $1.25 or more rather than being $1. And these are good till May, which is coming up pretty soon, but I think these could be fresher. They taste a little bit like when you've had French fries that have been fried in older oil. It has that kind of a taste. But I do like the addition of the tang and the heat from the hot sauce. This is supposed to be flavored with Louisiana brand hot sauce. So while we have it, let's try this. Both of these I also purchased at the dollar store, so very inexpensive. And this is Louisiana brand. Love the fleur-de-lis. You see this everywhere over the city. So great to see. While we're talking about hot sauces, I should also mention that the famous Tabasco is also made in Louisiana on Avery Island, I believe. So, oh yeah, first thing I notice is a very strong tang of vinegar and a spicy smokiness. So let's add some to the plate here. And you can see the consistency is pretty runny. I love that there's no plastic top, it's just the glass bottle. So let's give that a taste by itself. Ooh, very tangy and tart. It has a little bit of, I don't know, clove or some kind of spice to it besides the chili heat. A little bit of smokiness, but very, very vinegary. And of course there's some heat in there too, but not so spicy that it's uncomfortable. It's just a pleasant little warmth. So let's try it with the pork rind. And that's actually a good combination because these are so fatty and rich. You have this kind of vinegar with it. Cuts the fattiness. Great combination. Now let's try Crystal. Now this bottle to me is iconic. This combination of red, this bottle shape, all of this. This is a little bit brighter in color than the Louisiana brand. And this too was $1.25, very reasonably priced. And this is made in Metairie. Now, you'll have to excuse my pronunciation, Louisianans. There's a lot of names that are difficult for me to pronounce because I didn't take French in school. I took Spanish. So some of these things I'm sure I'm going to get wrong. But this contains aged red cayenne peppers, vinegar, and salt. So same thing, chili, salt, vinegar, but this one specifically says red cayenne peppers. Beautiful color. This too is also very runny. I'll shake it out on here for you. See that? If you didn't see my sriracha versus sriracha taste test, you should check out those videos. I compared old sriracha to new sriracha and the other sriracha with sriracha. So check out that video if you're into hot sauce. Now, let's try this one. Here we go. Ooh, so different. This one's much tangier, more acidic than the Louisiana brand. Very vinegary, a little bit smoky, and there's some heat in there too, but again, not too spicy. I would say in terms of heat, about the level of the present day sriracha. Taste is subjective, but I really like the Crystal version. It's the version that I grew up with, but I also just feel like that's what makes it really unique, is that really bright, zingy, tangy acidity that comes with this one. This one's acidic too, but not as much. This one just feels brighter and sunnier. And let's taste this one with a pork rind. Again, a very good combination of crunch, fat, porkiness with a little tangy bit of heat. Delicious. Next, let's try these. In the last taste test where I tasted the Brimm's chicharrones, many of you suggested that I try the Brimm's crunchy cheese curls, which are here. What I found unique about Brimm's brand is that they have a Bible verse, and this one does as well. This has Romans 9-10 on it, as do all of their products. So interesting. And these are a version of Cheetos, and these were $1.25, so very reasonably priced. These are not made in Louisiana though, I believe. No, these are made in Bartlett, Tennessee. Oh, they smell great. I love crunchy Cheetos. Are you crunchy or puffs? I am definitely team crunchy. These are not as crunchy as they should be. I think there might have been a leak in this package, although the package looked pleasantly puffed. You know, you can tell when a product has been exposed to a little bit of humidity. Sadly, that's what's happened here. They're not as like hard crunchy as they should be. And Louisiana is very humid. So if there's any little tiny hole, that humidity is going to get in there. It's going to make your snacks a bit soggy, which unfortunately has happened here. Sad trombone. These are good though, in terms of flavor. Nice cheddary cheese flavor. Flavorful without being salty. These are definitely less salty than regular crunchy Cheetos. And they're missing that little bit of kind of funky acid, a little bit of acidity that I associate with Cheetos. But as you can see, I can't stop eating them. They're just not as crunchy as they should be. But if you like crunchy cheese snacks, you'll probably like this one. Next, let's try another snack, Zapp's. Now these are famous New Orleans chips. You can find these everywhere. The packaging is iconic. There's 6 to 10 different flavors. This is spicy Cajun crawtator. There's also original, there's dill pickle, there's a super hot one, which isn't that hot. I think it's called hot habanero. And what other, there's a barbecue. We tried them all while we were there. And this is the one that I liked the best. So these are kettle chips and they are thicker sliced and fried to crisp perfection. Right, so this is spicy Cajun crawtator. Wow. Super flavorful, intensely flavored, great crunch. If you like a kettle style chip, I think you will like these. So these are spicy Cajun crawtator. Crawtator, of course, is a portmanteau of crawfish and tater, potatoes. And so it tastes a lot like Old Bay seasoning to me, which is a seasoning you can get to season your crab boil. So it's got lots of celery salt in there, paprika, onion, garlic, delicious. I'm also a fan of their original, which is just the plain kettle style chip. Delicious. So definitely try your Zapp's to go to New Orleans. So here's something I found at the dollar store, which I found at my local dollar store. So I don't think this is a uniquely Louisianan treat. It is more cereal straws, and this is in Cocoa Krispies flavor. Now, many of you said that this was a throwback to your childhood. I did not have these growing up, but I think I'll like these more than the Fruit Loops version because I'm definitely a chocolate type of person. I had to pack these in my suitcase, so I have a feeling these got a little bit crushed, but let us see. Yeah, a little bit. But I think we'll get a sense of what's going on. Do I even have a whole one? Not an entire whole one, but here is a cereal straw. That's what they look like. I don't know, I was expecting it to be brown on the outside, but it's brown on the inside. It's coated so that you can drink milk through the straw. Alrighty, let's give them a taste. Itadakimasu. I'm trying to assess whether or not I think it tastes like Cocoa Pebbles. I mean Cocoa Krispies. It's not Cocoa Pebbles. This is a Snap Crackle Pop. I'm not really impressed with the chocolate flavor. I was hoping there'd be a little more intense chocolate flavor, that cocoa flavor. I'm not tasting it so much. The texture is similar to those, I think they're called pirouettes. They're like cylindrical cookies that are really thin and wafery. Similar to that, but a little bit thicker crunch. The coating on the inside of these are thicker so that you can drink your milk through them for a little bit of time before they disintegrate and fall apart. So they're firmer than those cookies, but a similar kind of biscuit-like quality. I don't like these so much. I think I might actually like the Fruit Loop ones better because I feel like they're more similar to the cereal they're supposed to represent. These don't taste that Cocoa Crispy to me, sadly. They taste more like vanilla and soap. Odd, right? Maybe my taste buds are wigging out because I just had a bunch of vinegary hot sauces and chips. I don't know. This was a bit disappointing to me. Oh well. Next, I found this at the dollar store. This is not something you can eat, but I thought it was very interesting. Look at this. These are condiment holders that you can put in the vent of your car. Have you ever seen? I've never. $3. So a little bit more than $1 for sure. And I want to see how this works. All right, so this is kind of genius. So the next time I eat at, I think it seems to me these are almost specifically for McDonald's, but what you do is you stick this portion into the vent of your car. Like here, can you see that vent? And this will hold it like this. And then you put the condiments right in there, like that. So you can dip, dip, dip without spilling. Kind of genius, right? But are condiments universal? You know, will Chick-fil-A work versus McDonald's versus... Who else has condiments in these kinds of trays? I'm not even sure. I usually just get ketchup. Although as a kid, when I got chicken McNuggets, I would get the barbecue sauce. But there you have it. $3. So $1.50 for this convenience. Worth it? Let me know in the comments. Alrighty, lovelies. Next, let's try some things that I found at the grocery store. Now, I have to confess, some of these things I purchased just because I loved the graphic design. I'm confessing. So here we go. These are pretty iconic. And look at this packaging. Camellia brand beans. Now, red beans and rice are so delicious. I think I could eat red beans and rice every day in Louisiana. They're so stinking good. It's usually not just red beans and rice. It's usually made with sausage, but it's so smoky and delicious, and with rice, it's fantastic. But kidney beans are often what are used. And Camellia brand has been around since 1923, and I love this graphic design. So beautiful. So I plan on making red beans and rice for my family because we love them. And look, there's a little recipe right there on the back. Try the red beans and rice. I also found this by Camellia brand. I think this is more of a quick version. It comes with all the seasonings, although it does not have any sausage in it. I think you can add the sausage if you like. Of course you can. So this has the dried beans and the seasoning in there already. This too I bought for the beautiful packaging. Look at this. Look at Hubig's pie. So these are made locally. These are New Orleans style pies. I got peach. This was $2.45. I also saw apple and pineapple, but I thought peach would just be lovely. And it recommends microwaving it for 25 seconds, which is what I'm gonna do. Love this packaging. I think I'm just gonna heat it up in here and then you can eat it on the go. Look at that, that's perfection. That looks so good. Okay, 25 seconds. Okay, 25 seconds, not 30, 25. 25 seconds, and it started to leak out a little bit, so glad I put it on a plate. Smells great, smells peachy. Okay, let's cut this open. Ooh. Can you see this? Oh no, you can't. Oh man. Look at that inside, peach filling. It is so hot and toasty. Hubig's peach pie. It's a itadakimasu. Mmm. Boy, is that ever delicious. Let me just try the pie filling because mine kind of went to the bottom. Mmm. Sweet, peachy. Love the crust. The crust almost tastes like homemade. And really, I love the addition of the icing on the outside. Adds a little bit of extra sweetness without being too sweet. Mmm. Highly recommend warming it up. To me, very different than just a slice of pie. This is more of like a hand pie little thing going on here because it's all contained. Yeah, it's almost more like a donut. It has that deep fried flavor going on there. Some sweetness, and then you've got that really warm, peachy filling inside. It's scrumptious. For my last taste, I have a sampler of pralines. Now, you can see these everywhere. I bought the 3 brands that I could find. Aunt Sally's, Grammy's, and Mimi's. Now, if you missed my homemade version of pralines, check that out. They're so easy to make. They're so absolutely delicious. Pralines, depending on where you're from and how you pronounce it, is a delicious kind of caramelly, butterscotchy confection that's made often with pecans. Very popular in the South, very delicious. And incidentally, very easy to make. But let's try these versions. These are classics, and people come a long way just to have a taste of one of these. But I'm curious to see what they taste like. Okay, so Grammy's comes from St. Bernard, and Mimi's comes from Sorrento, and Aunt Sally's comes from New Orleans. Now I have to say, of the three, Aunt Sally's you could find everywhere. At the airport, every supermarket, convenience store, there was Aunt Sally's. And there is that. So we look at them up close. Pretty similar. These two look a little bit more similar in color. Aunt Sally's looks a little bit darker. So when I made them, I was concerned because I had a little bit of like this blooming thing happen, but Lovely's assured me that that was absolutely normal and okay. And I am getting confirmation from that because Grammy's has that. It's kind of like crystallization thing happening. That's totally okay. And I think proper. All right. Let's try the famous Aunt Sally's doesn't have it. Well, no, it does a little bit right there. So let's try Aunt Sally's first. And that's the texture inside. A little bit crumbly, caramel color. Oh, it smells great. This one smells very vanilla-y and ice cream shoppy. All right, let's give that a taste. Here we go. Mmm. Gosh, pecans are so good. Pecans to me have a naturally buttery, nutty flavor that goes so well with sweets. And that comes out very clearly in here. The texture is a little bit different than the ones that I made. Mine were a little bit kind of sandy and crumbly. This one, is softer. It doesn't have quite a caramel texture. It's not chewy or pulley or taffy at all, but it's not crystallized or crystalline or crumbly at all. Sweet, but not tooth-achingly sweet, but it has a very pronounced kind of vanilla aroma to it. Almost too strong, like perfumed almost, in my opinion. That's Aunt Sally's. Let's try Grammy's next. Ooh, Grammy's are much firmer and snappier than Aunt Sally's. And don't smell as vanilla. All right, let's try that. The texture of Grammy's is more similar to the ones that I made. So maybe that's just kind of a regional difference, recipe difference of pralines. This one's much sweeter. It's not as vanilla, definitely not perfumey. I feel like the distribution of pecans is a little bit less though. I didn't get a bite of pecan in either one of those bites. And both of these are not very buttery. The version I made was very, very buttery. Not very buttery at all. And this one tastes a little bit more like brown sugar rather than a caramel or caramel, depending on how you pronounce it, that I tasted in the Aunt Sally's. Alrighty, next let's try Mimi's. Mimi's too has more of a crumblier texture and not as snappy as Grammy's though. And let's give that one a bite. This one smells brown sugary. Alrighty, here we go. I want to make sure I get a pecan, so here we go. All right, so this one too has a crumblier, sandier texture, but not as snappy as Grammy's. Just had a pecan, which is delicious. I think Mimi's is the sweetest of all the three. It's sort of a hybrid in texture. Not as hard as Grammy's, but still kind of crumbly and sandy. But again, not very buttery. I'd say make your own. The homemade ones are tastier. They've got a nice combination of salt and butter, and I think are better than all of these. Although of the three, I think I like Aunt Sally's the best. I feel like the pecan flavor is the strongest in that, although it's almost a little bit over the top. It's almost like butter pecan flavored ice cream. It almost tastes like an extract, but it's the most flavorful of the three. In terms of texture, it's pretty good too. Definitely a candy sweet treat. But what I like about it is that It's not so intensely sweet. Like the Mimi's one is just like almost like a sugar cube that you're biting into. A delicious one, but very sweet. Alrighty, my lovies, there you have it. The tiniest tiny little slip of New Orleans. I highly recommend going to visit. The people are wonderful. The food is absolutely sublime. Alrighty, my lovies, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! Oh! This shirt I found at the Abita Mystery House, which was just one of the highlights of my trip. They have a dogigator. Enough said.